If you are planning to draft a fantasy football team in 2022, this is going to be a major help to you. I've drafted 27 times so far this offseason and cannot believe where these players are being taken. Here are the 12 wide receivers that are going far too low in drafts. Starting with Mike Williams, who according to the Underdog ADP is currently going as the 21st wide receiver off the board. Williams finished as a top 12 wide receiver last year, and this offseason he signed a 3-year, $60 million deal, with the big thing being right here, the $40 million in guaranteed money. 2/3 of his salary is guaranteed. He's going to be a massive focal point of this offense. Now check this out. Mike Williams is a top 5 receiver versus man coverage, which he saw a lot. His quarterback, Justin Herbert, top 10 versus man coverage. So it's a very simple formula here. You have Justin Herbert's accuracy and big arm, and then you have the big wide receiver on the outside who's getting open. Yeah, I'm going to take him at that wide receiver 22 spot. Next up is the wide receiver 25, who's actually gone down a spot. He was the 24 when I was looking a day ago, down a spot in Michael Thomas. This one makes no sense. He is going 9 wide receiver spots behind DK Metcalf, who's in a run-first offense with the quarterback currently of Drew Lock, and he's also going after Chris Godwin, who potentially will miss the first 4 weeks to maybe even more of that of the season with an ACL tear. Now, Michael Thomas didn't play last year, but this is how good this guy is. People are forgetting. He's had a 27% target share every year since 2017, finishing as a top 8 wide receiver in all of those seasons. Now, of course, there's one big question. How good is he without Drew Brees, and how good is he going to be now that Jameis Winston is there? Now, I found a potential answer, and it's pretty interesting. Drew Brees' his final 2 years in New Orleans, he wasn't the greatest. He averaged 7.7 yards per attempt, which is around the league average, maybe slightly above in terms of quarterback efficiency. But last year, before Jameis Winston got hurt, he was averaging 7.6 yards per attempt, so he was equally as efficient as Drew Brees was the previous 2 seasons when Michael Thomas was a top 8 wide receiver. The third wide receiver value in these drafts right now is Allen Robinson, who goes as the wide receiver 28 currently. And I just find it really funny that he's going after Juju Smith-Schuster, who potentially would be the wide receiver 3 in his offense, when Allen Robinson, in an equally as good offense, is the clear wide receiver 2. This is how much of an upgrade he's going to be getting this year. His average finish in target quality the last 4 years was 63rd amongst wide receivers. Last year, Matthew Stafford was top 5 in quarterback target quality. In this offseason, he signed a 3-year, $46.5 million contract with about 70% of that guaranteed. He is the clear wide receiver 2 in this offense. And the wide receiver 2 in this offense last year, Robert Woods, was averaging 7.7 targets per game before injury. And that was with Cooper Kupp putting up a historic season in terms of volume and target share. Imagine if that was to drop, even more for Robinson. Now, I believe this is the most underrated wide receiver, and that is Darnell Mooney, going as the 32nd wide receiver off the board. He is somehow going after Gabriel Davis and Elijah Moore, who are the clear number 2s at best in their offense, when Mooney is a clear number 1 in his. Just last year, Mooney saw a 27% target share. That's higher than Stephon Diggs and was top 10 in the NFL. And with Allen Robinson gone and the team only drafting a 3rd-round wide receiver, not an immediate threat, this is his competition. Byron Pringle is literally the wide receiver 2 on this team after being the 3rd or 4th option on the Chiefs last year. He was ranked 60th in wide receiver efficiency. It's wheels up for Darnell Mooney, who might be a top 10 wide receiver when it's all said and done this year. The wide receiver 29 off the board right now is much higher for me, and that's Rashad Bateman. With Hollywood Brown traded away, Bateman, who saw a top 1% of all time target share in college, he was earning targets even with Rondell Moore there, is now the clear number 1 wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens. And check this out. This is the Ravens depth chart. You have Devin Duvernay, James Prochice, Tylan Wallace, and Benjamin Victor as the only other 4 receivers on this offense. They are likely to add more guys, but those 4 guys have a combined 72 career receptions. It's going to be the Rashad Bateman show. And by the way, if you want to use my free best ball rankings right now, they're going to be linked in the Discord, totally free. You just go in there and you snag them. Now, generally speaking, rookie wide receivers on bad offenses usually drop in drafts because people just say, hey, I don't want to draft that guy. He's not going to do well. Well, Garrett Wilson is not on a bad offense. No. The Jets are no longer a bad offense, and he is the wide receiver 1, even though he goes 15 wide receiver spots after Elijah Moore. I'm very confused as to why he's going after Hunter Renfrow, who's the wide receiver 3 on his team, Brandon Ayuk, who's the 3rd option in a run-first offense with potentially a mobile QB in Trey Lance this year, and Devonta Smith, who's the 3rd option on his team with a run-first quarterback. Elijah Moore was solid last year, but he was a 2nd-round receiver. Garrett Wilson was a top 10 pick, and he out-competed these guys at Ohio State. First-rounder Chris Olave, first-rounder Jamison Williams, and projected first-rounder who's probably better than the other 2 guys I just mentioned, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Don't overthink this one. Garrett Wilson is going to rise into being in the top 35 wide receivers come August, so draft him in your best ball drafts now. This is perhaps my favorite value that we're finding, and it's Russell Gage as the 51st wide receiver off the board, because people are forgetting that Chris Godwin tore his ACL, and you can take advantage of that right now. Godwin had surgery on his ACL on January 10th of 2022, and it's usually an 8 to 9 month recovery, which means you're probably not going to see him for the first month of the season. So now you get Russell Gage as the 2nd option option in a passing attack out of the slot when Mike Evans is on the outside for Tom Brady, who led the league top 1% of all time with 313 passing yards per game last year. Russell Gage was literally more efficient than DK Metcalf and Stephon Diggs as a wide receiver yards per route run last year. And for some reason, he's going right next to Jamison Williams, who also tore his ACL like Godwin and might miss the first 20% to 40% of the games. Allen Lazard, who's best known for his run blocking skill set. And he's going pretty close to Rondale Moore, who's the wide receiver 4 in his team and got literally no downfield targets last year. Go get Russell Gage right now. And if you want to grab him on Underdog, you can get a free deposit match up to $100. You just use the code SAL. There's a link in the description. You can start drafting with myself and people in the Discord. Not now, but right now. This next guy has dropped way too low. 5 rounds basically from where he was being drafted last year, and it's Kenny Golladay at wide receiver 57. And I get it. Kenny Golladay is not a sexy pick as an older wide receiver. He's getting close to 30 now, but he was playing injured through 85% of his games last year in injury designation. So now he's healthy. He has a better coach, a better GM in place from Buffalo, and I don't expect him to see bottom 10% target quality this year simply because the Giants went out and they addressed their biggest need. Their biggest need was getting offensive line help for Daniel Jones. They drafted 3 offensive linemen, including potentially the best in the draft, Evan Neal, top 5 pick out of Alabama. And it's interesting to me that he's going right around where Devontae Parker is going when Parker is in an offense that is not going to throw nearly as much as the Giants, and they want to run the ball. And then Tyler Boyd, who's a slot wide receiver, who's the clear 3rd option in that passing attack for Cincinnati. Next up, I want to talk about the starting slot receiver for the Buffalo Bills and Jamison Crowder, who goes as the wide receiver 69. Crowder signed a 1-year, $2 million contract, a bargain for the Bills this offseason, and a big thing for Crowder at least is that he got almost 95% of it guaranteed. This is the reason why I love it so much. He's going as the wide receiver 69, even though Cole Beasley, through his age 30, 31, and 32 season, so an older player, was averaging a finish of wide receiver 36 in that exact same role the last 3 years. And Jamison Crowder is significantly younger at 29 years old. Let's chat about the wide receiver 64 right now at Penn State, the rookie Jahan Dotson, who was taken in the top half of the first round of the draft. The average of the wide receivers taken in the first round. So let's do a quick math here. The 6 wide receivers in the first round, their average draft selection right now is the 45th pick at the wide receiver position. Jahan Dotson goes at the 64th pick. He is going almost 50% later than those guys. He's also going later than second round picks Sky Moore and Christian Watson, and it's surprising to see him go later than a Chris Olave, who's a similar quarterback situation with a Jameson Winston. It's surprising to see him go after a Jamison Williams, who's going to miss a part of the season. So right now you're getting a massive value on Jahan Dotson. Another fun value that's there in the 15th or 16th round of drafts, maybe even later, so a flyer in your best ball draft, is going to be Alec Pierce, because Zach Pascal is gone for the Indianapolis Colts, and this is what their current depth chart looks like. It's Michael Pittman, followed by Paris Campbell, who's missed the last 3 seasons with injuries, Ashton Dulin, who's a speedster but likely not going to threaten a second round athletic freak, and Alec Pierce. I personally believe that Pierce is the wide receiver 2 on this team. And courtesy of playerprofiler.com, you can see his workout metrics, which are top 1% of all time at the NFL Combine. He has top 10% speed. He has top 5% burst. His catch radius is one of the best that we have ever seen. A lot of people are going to compare him maybe to a Jordy Nelson, but he's way more athletic than Jordy was, and that's saying something. Now, this wide receiver often goes undrafted in these fantasy drafts. He's the wide receiver 85, and it's KJ Hamler, who is now attached to Russell Wilson. Now, here's my take on this. He could be the next Tyler Lockett for Russell Wilson, the guy that Lockett likes targeting downfield, except Hamler is 7 years younger than Lockett, and he's way faster than Lockett. Courtesy of Player Profiler, you can see, based on his 40 time, a 4.32 that is 99th percentile, meaning top 1% of all time of an NFL player. Now, Hamler was hurt last year, but as a rookie, he ranked top 10 in separation. He was getting open. Problem was his quarterback was Drew Lock, who ranked dead last in deep ball accuracy. So now you combine the separation and speed of KJ Hamler with Russell Wilson's deep ball accuracy and how often he throws it, and fellas, hey, we got ourselves a really, really good value. Now, we talked about a lot of rookies in here, and every single year, rookies are going to have impact on the value of all positions. And if you want to see exactly how every single team was impacted from the NFL draft, hey, fellas, this video right here is going to help you all out. And it's filled with a whole bunch of schmacks.